Hi, this is Nikolai from Bunker Samples, and this is the Harmonium. But this is also the Harmonium. This instrument is near and dear to my heart. Normally with sampling I'm not particularly interested in realism, but this one is an exception. I wanted to make a hyper-realistic harmonium, but in true Bunker Sample style, I also wanted to create a virtual instrument that could do things the real harmonium couldn't. It was built in 1910 by this guy in this place, and the last few years it's lived here in an apartment I used to rent in Copenhagen. It belonged to my roommate. I was leaving the country, but I loved this harmonium so much that I decided to sample the heck out of it before I left. It has 6 stops. The free bottom are bass and corresponds to the blue reins, and the top to the yellow reins. You can select them by clicking on them or using the red key switches down here. Let's hear what they sound like. As you can hear, these two, the diapason and dulce, sound very similar, but I included the samples anyway because it's very useful to be able to tune one of them up or down, which you can do here by dragging up or down. As you can hear, these two sound also similar, but again, tuning one of them up or down is a very useful feature to have. You can solo a stop by holding Command while you click, and if you hold Alt or Option, you can control all of them. As you can hear, I sampled the sound of the stops being pulled in and out. You can turn that on and off here and set the level. And the same goes for the key noise of the actual keyboard. I also sampled the sound of the foot pump that you have to work while playing a harmonium, and you can turn that on and off here. Or you can use the green key switch. You have individual control of the volume of each stop, and you can even automate that or map it to a fader. As well as a tone control to make it darker or brighter. If you want to affect all the stops at once, simply hold Alt or Option while you click or drag on something. Down in the performance controls, we have a dynamic slider, that controls the velocity response. So when you set it to 0, the instrument doesn't respond to the velocity you play with at all. But if you turn it up, you get some dynamic control, which of course is not realistic, but then again, that's what sampling is for. The real attack and release controls do exactly what you think they do. When they're turned on, you're hearing the natural recorded beginning and end release samples of each note. If you turn attack off, the sample will start playing back further into the sample, and you have access to the attack control. So if the natural attack feels a little bit laggy, you're playing something fast, that's a neat little trick to have. And if you want to set your own release time, all you have to do is turn off the release triggers and you get access to decay, sustain, and release controls as well. Then we get to the effects matrix. You simply click on a name to show the effects for that row, and you can turn them on and off with this little circle. If you hold Alt Option, you can turn all of them on or off, and that also goes for setting all the parameters to the same value. I spent a lot of time designing this GUI so that you could have a lot of control over each effect, even though I had to fit 6 of them into each row. The LFO control is a bit special, so I'm just going to go over that quickly. Apart from the intensity slider, you drag up or down on every single control. So the shape goes from a sine to a triangle to a square. And when you select square, this pulse width control becomes available. You set the speed by dragging directly on the number, and you set the sync value by dragging directly on the note. You can also set it to free, in which case this becomes a hertz control. The volume LFO works in exactly the same way, and combining the two is a lot of fun. Here is with just one stub. So literally hours of fun experimenting just with the LFOs. Apart from that, you also have a chorus, rotator, a formant filter, and distortion. With distortion, you can choose between distortion or saturation, and you have 2 types for each: classic or enhanced saturation, or a transistor or a tube distortion, drive and damping. You can run each stub through its own cabinet, and you have a few different to choose from, as well as treble and bass controls. You also have a filter, and you can select between a low pass and a high pass, and you set the resonance with this slider. And again, as always, if you hold Alt, all of them will change. Finally, we have send controls, which sends to the effects down here. There's delay 1, 2, reverb 1, and reverb 2. Important to note here is that it only works if the send control is actually turned on. The send control is pretty self-explanatory. Time works in the same way as the delay, drag up and down. Then you have feedback, damping, and pan. And reverb is just simply a convolution reverb where you select the convolution impulse response here. Finally, I want to mention that there is a help built in. If you hover over control, a little text will pop up down here, which tells you exactly what the control does and how to operate it. I'm very excited about how this instrument turned out. It has a lot of possibilities. It can be a super realistic harmonium, but it can also do so much more. And that's what I love about sampling, to take a real organic source and turn it into a virtual instrument that has its entire own character. I hope you get to enjoy this library, and see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye-bye.